Welcome to Sports Extra, your premium online sports show. My name is Ruimbo Chakoreka. Now don't forget to like this Facebook page and even share it to your family and friends. And follow us on our Instagram and Twitter handles, that is at Sports Extra Zim. Now the extra has no E. Now, in today's headlines, SRC pushes vaccine drive in sport right here in Zimbabwe, whilst more Zimbabwean players are joining South African Premier Soccer League side Sekhukhune United. A big deal has happened. Jack Grealish will complete his £100 million move to Manchester City today. Well, he was expected to arrive in Manchester City, whilst Inter Milan has seemed to be playing hardball as they have rejected an £85 million bid for Romelu Lukaku, who is currently at Inter Milan. Olympics action, international sporting news, and so much more. Now, our major discussion today will be on Team Zimbabwe. They have returned home from the Tokyo Olympics and no one was able to win a medal. Did we do well or not? Now put your comments in the comment section below this video and let's discuss and see whether Team Zimbabwe can do better when we get to Paris 2024. So let's start off with local news, where the sports mother body, the SRC, also called the Sports and Recreation Commission, has received backing from sports stars such as Zimbabwe national cricket team player, that is Sikandar Razabat, as well as the Zimbabwe rugby national team captain Hilton Mudariki, in what they have launched as a drive. It's called Save Our Sport and Get Your Vaccination Jab Today. Now, this is designed to actually encourage stakeholders in the sports industry to embrace vaccination against coronavirus as a way of trying to bring normalcy to the sector. Now, what we do know for a fact is that football is not being played, particularly club football, only after 5 rounds of the Chibuku Super Cup of football was brought to a halt, and national team assignments were actually given preference on a case-by-case basis, and that means most of the sporting action in Zimbabwe is not taking place. So I would also encourage you, go and get your jab, particularly if you're a sports person. It will definitely help to make sure that sport can come back as quickly as possible. But while still talking about getting jabs and whether sporting action will continue, former Warriors captain as well as midfielder Willard Katsande has confirmed that Kaizer Chiefs' offer is still standing, and that is despite him joining Sekhukhune United. Now, others have actually called it a Zimbabwe United, so to speak, with the number of Zimbabwean players that they have actually been taking on board. Now, the midfielder's contract with Amakosi expired in June, but the deal was not renewed. Now, instead, the club offered him a contract in order to come through for a technical option. And guess what? He decided, well, look, I don't think I want to hang up my boots at this present moment in time, but I want to play football for a little bit longer, which is why he joined Sekhukhune United. So at the same time, Caps United player, well, now he's former, Blessing Sarupinda has become the latest Zimbabwean player to be recruited by this ambitious side, Sekhukhune United. Now, Sekhukhune United were promoted from the first division last season, and they are now part of the DStv Premiership, and it looks like they are making quite a lot of Zimbabwean buys. Now, Sarupinda was one of the few bright, shining stars at what was a very poor showing by the Zimbabwe national team at the COSAFA Cup in South Africa. At the same time, Sekhukhune have offloaded Clive Peary from the club, and as they are seeking to refresh their foreign quota ahead of the new season. But still sticking to issues around South Africa, this time round it's not going to South Africa but returning from it, as Harare Giants Caps United have signed former Chicken Inn hotshot, and he was at Maritzburg United, that is Clive Augusto. Now, Clive Augusto left Chicken Inn after he was scoring goals for fun in the last season, the last full season, that is in 2019, and he scored for fun. He had scored 15 goals by the time he went through to Maritzburg United, and many would have hoped that he was going to get a starting jersey, but unfortunately his potential was never seen. He never was a part of the team of choice, and ultimately he has been let go. So he comes back to Caps United to revive his career, and this is where we ask the big question and where we hope that you can participate as well. Has South Africa become the deathbed for Zimbabwean footballers, for our footballers? Or are they no longer a match for the progress that South Africa is making in its football? We've seen quite a number of players going down to South Africa and not making it. And case in point is Clive Augusto. We've also seen quite a number of players not being able to leave South Africa to go and play in the European leagues or the more fancied leagues in Europe. We saw Tinashe Nengomasha serving very faithfully for Kaizer Chiefs. Same with Kama Billiard. He has done his business for Mamelodi Sundowns as well as Kaizer Chiefs, but has never been able to make the step up into European footballing action. Willard Katsande also finishes his career at Kaizer Chiefs. But also, the question is, what is going on with our Zimbabwean players? Because it seems as long as we stay within the South African League, many of them can't make the step forward. Now, just a few players to take note of. That's the likes of Benjani Marwar. He was able to play for Jomo Cosmos, and then he proceeded to Europe. We saw Knowledge Musona. He played for Kaizer Chiefs, and then he also proceeded to Europe. So those are the few examples that we have. But as for the rest, well, many of them have just perished within South African football. So what are your thoughts on it? Do send your comments below this video and let us know. Is it South Africa that is the problem? Is it the quality of football that they are playing which is not helping our Zimbabwean players achieve a better stint? Or is it the fact that we have to face that Zimbabwe no longer has the quality of talent that can be able to go and compete in South Africa, fight for their jerseys in South Africa, become the mainstays of South African football? Do give us your thoughts. So let's deal with the matter at hand, where the Zimbabwe Olympic Committee president, that's Tabani Gonye, has come through and said it's time the country starts taking the necessary steps towards addressing the gaps within the local sporting structures. Now, Peter Purcell Gilpin, who was part of rowing, Jonata Katai, who was swimming, Peter Wetzler was also swimming, Ngoni Makusha for athletics in the track events, and Scott Vincent for golf represented Zimbabwe at the Tokyo Games, but they all came short in the battle for medals. Now, we asked some people on how they felt that Team Zimbabwe did at the Tokyo 2020 Olympic Games.
Yeah, I think it's awesome to have representation at the Olympics, represented by those 5 athletes who took part carrying the Zimbabwean flag. And as a country, we obviously would have wished for more, but I think being grateful for having some representation. Not everyone had representation at the Olympics, and I think going forward it just shows that with more support to athletes, better performances will come out. Those who went past semis or who qualified for semis or beyond were the ones who had automatic qualifying times, and the other 3 did well to get some experience and exposure, that thing which will be a highlight for all of them and will carry them and give them some confidence going into other international meets. And I think 5 years ago we knew of these 5 athletes in the sporting fraternity, and I think more support can be given to those athletes we see who are showing promise, so that they have better performances on the international stage. But it was great to see, and well done to all 5 of them for their performances.
Hi, my name is Jeff Morimbechi from Capital 100.4 FM, and my thoughts on the Zimbabwean Olympic team that went there. I think at a space when it was very difficult to prepare, these guys did very well. The likes of Scott Vincent with the golf. Ngoni Makusha is one of those guys who also impressed very well. But an overall performance, I would say that for the preparation, the resources, and the support that they got, these guys did an excellent job. And if you just pump in more money into this, if you have more corporations, and if we really have an Olympic plan for this, we can actually achieve a lot more. So those are my thoughts.
Exciting indeed to have actually had participants. But Tabani Gonye is saying that as a nation, we must be concerned with the low number of athletes or teams achieving high performance or elite standards. And that's the case with our team of 5 that went. Only 2 of the 5, which would be a 40% sort of record there, were the ones that were able to qualify directly. And that was Peter Purcell-Gilpin and Scott Vincent in golfing. As for the rest, they got universality slots. Now, we need to qualify for top-level competitions such as Tokyo 2020, but the big elephant in the room is that the number of athletes reaching elite levels does not tally with the talent that we have across our sporting codes. Now, let's interrogate this a little bit further. Now, he says the level of talent that we have across the country. The question is, do we have talent or do we have people just participating? Because sometimes it may look good on the naked eye that we've got talent, we've got people participating in the National Youth Games, we've got kids participating in high school. But let's look at it really carefully. How much has the sport really declined within the country? And that is because mainly of the economic situation. So we find many public schools are no longer able to fulfill their fixtures. Let's give statistics that are very factual. When it comes to cricket, at the present moment in Zimbabwe, only 3 public schools are able to play at elite level in terms of cricket within high schools. Prince Edward High School, Churchill High School, and in Bulawayo, the old Miltonians, or rather Milton High School, are the only ones that are able to play cricket at the moment. When it comes to rugby, a lot of government schools that we all knew actually came to the table to participate are finding it very difficult to fulfill fixtures. So, do we actually have quality talent that is happening across the country? And I think also we need to take certain things into account, which ZOC President Tabani Gonye really said. We now need to engage sports science. We now need to engage high performance centers. We now need to get to a place whereby we've got experienced and skilled coaches that are able to take our athletes to the next level. But that is not enough. We also need to have the infrastructure that will support these guys as they're going forward. So let's look at Ngoni Makusha, for example. Ngoni Makusha was able to run his best time at the Olympics of 10 seconds and 43 splits. His personal best is 10.17. However, in the 100-meter final race, all the guys that ran in that 100-meter race were above his personal best time. So in other words, he would have needed to run above his personal best to have made it into the final of the 100 meters and have been able to participate. When it came to the 200 meters as well, of which we're going to be talking a little bit about that later within this program, we also saw that athletes are pushing the envelope. But this does not happen all because people participate in tournaments or go to track events all over the world. It is a support system that needs to be built. And I believe this is what the ZOC president is saying. I'd love to hear your thoughts and comments on this one. What can ZOC do? What can the SRC, Sports and Recreation Commission, do? What should the Ministry of Youth, Sport, Art and Recreation be doing in order for us to send more athletes to the World Championships or even to the Olympics? A bigger debate for another time, but we leave it here sizzling so that you can contribute. So enough said about that. Whether we're going to have high performance centers and so on, all we can say is that some level of investment has to go through. But let's just cross the Zambezi and let's see what is happening in their football. Well, the Football Association of Zambia has unveiled a new technical team for their national team following the sacking of Milutin Mishu Sredejovic. Now, Beston Chambeshi will take over the reins on an initial 3-month contract, with Aljosa Asanovic coming in as the technical advisor. Karol Prazanesia and Stefan Sarovic are also coming through onto the technical bench. Meanwhile, Micho has already joined Uganda as their national team coach, and this is following his departure from the Zambian national team. Now, the Serbian international returned for his second spell with the Cranes, signing a 3-year contract. Now, the Gaffer's first spell with the Ugandan Cranes ended after the 2017 AFCON finals, and this was following a payment dispute. The question is, will he be dodging a payment dispute this time round? In any case, he's got a job, but Beston Chambeshi has got a lot to do because he will be in charge of the World Cup qualifiers, and you kind of feel that that is already some pressure. Well, after all of that news, we're going to be taking a short break, and then we return with more stories. Welcome back to the show, and don't forget to like, share, and comment on all of our social media platforms. That's at Sports Xtra Zim. Now, the extra has got no E. Now, let's look at what happened at the Olympics. Well, for all of her troubles, she was able to show the world that I am part of the best. And who's that? That's Elaine Thompson. She confirmed her place amongst the pantheon of sprint greats as she secured an unprecedented women's 100-meter and 200-meter double with a sensational victory in the 200 meters. Now, the Jamaican surged home in 21.53 seconds, just 0.19 seconds off Florence Griffith Joyner's a long-standing world record. Now, to back up her individual goals from Rio 2016. Now, it is the second fastest time in history. But we're happy, particularly from an African perspective, because Namibian teenager Christine Boma, who was barred from the 400 meters. Why? Because of this testosterone issues. There's too much testosterone in her blood. Guess what? She came in and took the silver, while Gabriel Thomas, the American, took bronze in 21.87. Now, shifting over to the 200 meters race for the men, Andre de Grasse finally is now an Olympic champion after he posted a time of 19.62 seconds in the 200-meter final at the Olympic Stadium, capturing the one medal that has been eluding him all this time. That is an Olympic gold. De Grasse now has 5 Olympic medals, and he's won a medal in every event that he's competed in at the Rio and Tokyo Olympics. That is a ridiculous feat. But talking about things that are ridiculous, it gets even more ridiculous because Norway's Karsten Warholm ran a stunning men's 400 meters hurdles race to obliterate his previous world record and take gold. Now, he finished in 45.94 seconds, which would have been a decent time, actually running 400 meters without any hurdles. But it seems like he had no hurdles that he was jumping over, and he came through slashing more than 7/10 of his old record. American Rai Benjamin was hot on his heels to win silver, having also beaten the previous record. Now, Warholm set the previous world record, and then he came and he broke it. What was interesting about this race was that the top 4 finishers in the 400-meter hurdles, guess what they did? They all smashed the Olympic record. It's ridiculous. You can imagine that way. And they were so quick, which is why we're calling, particularly for the Zimbabwe Olympic Committee, as well as athletes in Zimbabwe, to push beyond the barriers, to try and break world records, to go and participate at the highest level. That is the only way we can be recognized. And for the women, they were not to be outdone, because Sydney McLaughlin smashed her own world record with a sensational run to take the gold in the 400-meter hurdles for women. Now, she came down the home straight to finish in 51.46 seconds as she shaved almost half a second off the old mark to reel in her compatriot and rival, Delilah Muhammad. So let's put all of these things into perspective. Records are being smashed. They are not being matched. They are being smashed. And this is what we also need to begin to look at, particularly on the African continent. We've now seen a lot more countries that are now taking the step into becoming competitive at the elite level. No surprises that we've now got Botswana competing consistently on track events, particularly in the 400 meters for men with Isaac Makwala. We saw Wade van Niekerk breaking the world record in Rio 2016. Unfortunately, this time round, he wasn't able to make it. But the key issue here is that if anybody is going to be going to the Olympics, something has to be taken note of. World records are being smashed every Olympics, meaning that qualification times. So with all these records being smashed all over the park, they're not being matched, they're being smashed. And I think this is where we need to take things into consideration and really sit down and sober up. Qualifying for the Olympics or World Championships is going to get harder and harder by the year. Now, with world records being smashed, it now means that qualification times are now going to become even more trickier. And these are the things that we need to begin to take on, that participating at elite level competitions will require greater levels of sacrifice, greater levels of investment, greater levels of training that need to be done, and establishment of those national academies with coaches that are coming from even outside the country will definitely help in uplifting most of our athletes to get to the level that they need to get to. But I'd love to hear your thoughts as well. I mean, absolutely amazing, the Tokyo Olympics. But in comparison with some of the other Olympics, where do you think it matches up? Well, the buzz is about to begin. Or has it already begun? I think it has already begun. But we've got good news here at Sports Extra, because we have created a fantasy football league for the upcoming Premier League season, which starts in the next 9 days. Now, to receive the code, just log on to all of our social media platforms, and you can join in and stand a chance to win a prize from one of our sponsors at the end of the season. So you definitely want to log in. We'll make sure that the code for you to enter into the league will be available for you, and you can participate. It's going to be stiff competition because we've got some others who have already joined and are raring to go. So don't miss out and join the Fantasy Football League. So whilst the league is about to start, let's look at how the transfer zone is looking. And we mentioned in our headlines, Jack Grealish will complete his £100 million move to Manchester City today. Now, the Aston Villa captain is due to sign for Manchester ahead of completing a British record transfer deal. £100 million for Jack Grealish. I think it's a little bit too much. There's going to be a heavy weight on his shoulders, and apparently it is being touted that he will have a salary of within the region of close to £300,000 a week. That is a massive step up from his £100,000 a week, which he was earning at Aston Villa. While still talking about transfer zone news, Inter Milan have rejected an £85 million bid from Chelsea, as Lukaku is at the head of Chelsea's search for a new forward after Borussia Dortmund ruled out selling Erling Braut Haaland. In other transfer zone news, Giorgio Chiellini, that is the Italian winning captain for the UEFA Euro 2020 has officially signed a new contract with Juventus that runs to June 2023, which is taking him through to the 2022 Qatar World Cup. I don't know how many years that this man still has, but guess what? If he's able to win a European competition with the amount of pressure that was there, I think his experience will definitely be needed when Italy goes for the World Cup in Qatar in 2022. But talking about that as well, it's still staying in Italy. AC Milan could look to make an initial loan move for Chelsea's Hakim Ziyech, with Stefano Pioli saying that this young man is a priority. Now, it's quite unfortunate that Hakim Ziyech has not been able to really get it up and running at Chelsea. He was bought under Frank Lampard, but Thomas Tuchel has come through with a system that has worked for him, and Chelsea are the European champions. There'll be pressure to defend that title. There'll be pressure to chase the Premier League, and Roman Abramovich, the owner of Chelsea, does not pull any punches when you don't fulfill the targets that he's looking for. Well, in a bit of a surprise, Real Madrid are interested in signing Wesley Fofana, the youngster who's at the heart of the Leicester City defense. And Leicester City have valued the French defender at no less than 80 million euros. That's ridiculous. This is Wesley Fofana. He's a good defender, I must say. I would have loved to have him even at Manchester United. But 80 million euros, I think that's an overstatement. I think at the very most, maybe 50 million euros would have been a very decent price for him. But he is a good defender nonetheless, and I'm sure this is in response to Rafael Varane, who is set to join Manchester United. So, interesting take, interesting buy. I'm not so sure whether they're going to get him though. Well, Barcelona are likely to announce Lionel Messi's contract renewal this week, and he might actually feature in a match against Juventus this coming weekend on Sunday in the Johan Gamper trophy that they're going to be playing for. So it's interesting times. Have Barcelona been able to meet the financial fair play rules, or are they just saying that they are confident they will announce his renewal? We know that they will need to make some heavy cuts, and so far they haven't sold enough or gotten rid of players enough to actually warrant Lionel Messi staying at Barcelona. So very tricky indeed. Well, in other international footballing news, Louis van Gaal, LVG, the man was actually known as Murumeane Eco Cash book, because he had a book, a philosophy book, that he wrote so many notes when he was at Manchester United. And you know, as a Manchester United fan, I was also very tired of that book because of the kind of play that we had. But guess what? He was actually working on something. And I think that was one of the managers, amongst all of the managers that have come after Sir Alex Ferguson, who we actually should have kept on board because he was building something. But guess what? He is back at Netherlands, and this is the third time that he will be returning to the Netherlands national team. An agreement has been completed, and an official statement was already released on social media that he will be returning. I think he is the kind of guy that will be needed for Netherlands right now as they try to build towards the 2022 World Cup. The question is, will his tactics, will his systems work for Netherlands that seemed to be playing some kind of decent football at the Euro 2020s, but unfortunately it just wasn't good enough when they came against Czech Republic and they were knocked out. That was in the quarterfinal stage. So interesting times. Louis van Gaal is back in the orange for the Dutch. Well, in international cricket news, we know the test match between England and India is well underway. Now, the last time that we checked, it was 77 for the loss of 3 wickets as India were really trying to get into it, and Captain Joe Root for England was getting stuck into the bowlers just a little bit there, showing some aggressive intent. But what was interesting is what happened yesterday. Now, Bangladesh, for the very first time in their cricketing history, picked up their first ever T20 win over Australia in their first game of the 5-match series. Now, after being put into bat in Mirpur, Bangladesh made a modest 131 for 7. With Shakib Al-Hassan top scoring with 36 and Josh Hazelwood taking 3 for 24. So you would have thought that Australia would wrap this up in a jiffy. Alex Carey was then bowled first ball of the chase before Australia limped to 11 for 3. They recovered to 71 for 4 but lost regular wickets up until they were bowled out for 108. 23 runs short of the target. And guess who was their nemesis? Well, it was the left-arm spinner Naseem Ahmed who recorded career best figures of 4 for 19 with Mitchell Marsh top scoring with 45. Now, when Bangladesh came through and beat Zimbabwe, everybody had raised their axes. We're playing poorly, we should have done better. Australia, guys, Yaroa, guys. And of course, before we even got on air, Australia was being pummeled again by Bangladesh. So it shows that Bangladesh has come of age. They've grown. They are no longer the team that we actually just used to walk all over. Even the likes of West Indies struggle to beat Bangladesh now. And Bangladesh now qualifies for World Cups with automatic qualification spots without having to go through qualifiers. So it shows that hard work has been put in. The right people have been recruited, particularly now where they recruited Rangana Herath, the former Sri Lankan legendary spinner, to be their spin bowling coach. Whilst they've also got Ashwell Prince, who was a very stocky batsman for South Africa, to come through and help their batsmen. So it seems their game is now gelling more and it's coming together, and it is showing that they're heading in the right direction. Well, that's all we had for you today. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Sports Extra. Now, if you'd like to advertise on this show, you can get in touch with us on 0773 054 868. That number again, 0773 054 868. Or you can send us an email on sportsextra30@gmail.com. Now, the extra, remember, does not have an E. So it's a sportsextra30@gmail.com. Now, until next time, stay safe, mask up, sanitize your hands and regularly used surfaces. And please, if you can, get vaccinated against COVID-19. It has destroyed too many lives and it can't take any more. Until next time, cheerio.